All right, let's talk about generic relationships. So I told you that we want to design the tags app such that we can reuse it in any project. Anywhere we want to have the ability to tag items. That's why we have two models in this app. Tag, which represents an actual tag, and tagged item, which represents a tag applied to a particular item, which can be a product, a video, an article, literally anything. So let's see how we can implement these models. So back to VS Code. Let's go to the tags app and open the models module. Here we're going to define two classes. The first one is tag, and we're going to give it a field called label, which is going to be a char field with a max length of 255. Nothing new so far. Now the second class is the one that is interesting, tagged item. Now using this class, we can find out what tag is applied to what object. Now to determine the tag, we simply add a field here, tag, which is going to be a foreign key to the tag class. Now here we need to set onDelete to what? Well, if we delete a tag, we want to remove it from all the associated objects, right? So here we're going to cascade. Again, nothing new so far. Now the interesting part is identifying the object that this tag is applied to. Here's the poor way of implementing this. If we add a field called product, then we need to set this to a foreign key to product. Now with this implementation, we have to import the product class on the top, and that means the tags app is going to be dependent on the store app. So look, if we say from store.models, import product, now the tags app is dependent on the store app. We don't want to do this. What if tomorrow we want to tag articles or videos? These are completely different apps. So the tags app should know nothing about these models. So delete this line. What we need here is a generic way to identify an object. To do that, we need two pieces of information. The first one is the type of an object, which can be, let's say, product, video, article, whatever. The second attribute we need is the ID of that object. Using these two pieces of information, we can identify any objects in our application, or in database terms, we can identify any record in any tables. Because using the type, we can find the table, and using the ID, we can find the record, right? So instead of using a concrete model like product, we should use an abstract model called content type, which comes with Django. So earlier, we talked about the list of installed apps in the settings module. Let's go there real quick. So over here, we have an app called content types. Using content types, we can create generic relationships between our models. So content type is a model that represents the type of an object in our application. Now we need to import this on the top. So from Django.contrib, which is short for contribution. Then we're going to go to content types app. Then we're going to go to the models module and import the content type class. So this is a model just like any model that we have in our application. But this model is specifically made for allowing generic relationships. Now, back to the business. So we're going to have a foreign key to content type, and that means instead of product, we should call this field content type. Now, for onDelete, once again, we're going to use cascade, because if that object type is removed, we want to remove all the associated tags. So models.cascade. Now, the second attribute we need here is the ID of that target object. So we can call this field object_ID, and this has to be a positive integer field, because we're assuming that every table is going to have a primary key, and all primary keys are positive integers. Now, what if in a particular table, our primary key is not an integer? Let's say it's a GUID. Well, this solution is not going to work. So this is the limitation of this solution. So now, with these two pieces of information, we can identify any object in our application. Now, one last thing. When querying data, we might want to get the actual object that this tag is applied to, like the actual product. To do that, we're going to add another field here called content_object. And of course, we could call it anything. Now, we should set this to a particular type of field called generic foreign key. Now, we need to import this on the top. So I'm going to duplicate this line and change models to fields and content type to generic foreign key. Now, using this field, content object, we can read the actual object that a particular tag is applied to. So let's quickly recap. To define a generic relationship, there are 3 fields we need to define: content type, object ID, and content object. Now a little exercise for you. I want you to create an app called Likes for tracking the objects that a user likes. So in this app, we're going to have a model called liked item. And using an instance of this model, we can tell what user likes what object. So here we need a field called user, which is going to be a foreign key to the user class defined in this module, django.contrib.auth.models. So auth is another app that is automatically installed in every Django project. And using this app, we can authenticate and authorize users. So go ahead and spend a couple minutes on this, then come back see my solution. All right, here's my solution. We have a new app called Likes, and in this app, we have a new model called liked item. Now here we have 4 fields. We have user, which is a foreign key to the user class defined in django.contrib.auth.models. Now here for onDelete, I've used cascade. So if a user is deleted, we want all the objects that the user has liked to be deleted as well, okay? Then we have 3 fields exactly like before, no changes. So we have content type for identifying the type of an object that the user likes. We have object ID for referencing that particular object, and content object for reading an actual object. So that was pretty simple. Let's move on to the next lesson.